This story happened when I was living in a small house I had just moved into. It was an older place with creaky wooden floors and a bit of a musty smell, but it was affordable and the neighborhood seemed quiet, so I figured it would work just fine. I wasn't there for long before things started to get weird. One night I was getting ready for bed after a long day. I took a shower and stepped out into the bathroom to dry off. The bathroom mirror was fogged up from the steam, and I wiped my hand across it to clear a spot to see my reflection. But before I could even really look at myself, I noticed something strange. There was writing on the mirror. At first I thought maybe I had accidentally brushed my hand against it in a way that left a streak. But no, this was different. The writing was clear, like someone had taken a finger and written directly on the glass. It wasn't just random marks, it was a full message. It said, "Get out, you're not alone." I stood there frozen. My heart started pounding in my chest. I could feel the blood drain from my face. I hadn't even been in the house long enough to have made any friends or enemies, so the thought of someone breaking in and writing that just seemed insane. I was alone, right? I quickly wiped the mirror down, thinking I must have been seeing things, but the message was gone. I convinced myself it was just the fog playing tricks on my mind. Maybe I was just overtired or stressed out. So I brushed it off, got dressed, and tried to go to sleep. The next few days were normal, but then it happened again. It was a Saturday night, and I had just finished another shower. As I reached for my towel, I looked up at the mirror and froze. The same writing was there again. "Get out! You're not alone!" I nearly screamed. I wiped it away so fast, my hands shaking. This time, though, the air in the room felt colder, heavier even. I couldn't explain it. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it, but I couldn't. I thought maybe someone was playing a prank on me. Maybe one of my friends had a copy of the key and was sneaking into my house. But I couldn't think of anyone who'd do something so bizarre. I tried to sleep that night, but it was impossible. I kept hearing noises, scratching sounds like something was moving around in the walls. I would hear whispers, but when I'd listen closely, they'd stop. It was like someone was just out of reach, always just beyond my awareness. And then, the third time, the message wasn't the same. This time it read, "You're still here. You'll never be alone." I wasn't sure if I was going insane. I had to get out of there. I packed a bag and stayed with a friend for a few nights, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for me to come back. The whispers, the feeling of being watched, never left. A week later, I returned to grab the rest of my things, but when I went into the bathroom, the mirror was clean. There was nothing on it. No message, no fog, nothing. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, that I had imagined it, but then I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the corner of the mirror near the edge, there was a faint, barely noticeable handprint, and it wasn't mine. I couldn't leave fast enough. I put the house up for sale the next day, and I never went back. But I still don't know who or what was trying to get me to leave. This happened a few years ago when I was living alone in a house I'd just moved into. It was an old house, probably built in the 1950s, and had that charming yet slightly eerie vibe. The kind of place that had some character, creaky floors, chipped paint, and an overgrown garden. But it was cheap, and I didn't mind the quirks. The basement was a huge selling point for me. It was unfinished, but I figured I could turn it into a space for laundry and maybe a little workshop. It had a door that was always a little tough to open, but nothing out of the ordinary. At least that's what I thought at first. One evening, I decided to tackle some laundry. I went down to the basement, and as usual, the door creaked open, and I made my way down the stairs. It was a little musty down there, but I was used to it. I set my laundry basket on the floor and turned to grab the detergent when I heard something, a sound coming from the far corner of the room. It sounded like someone whispering. I froze. I could feel my heart start to race. The basement was totally empty, and no one was supposed to be in there with me. The whispering got louder, more distinct. It wasn't a voice I recognized. It was more like a low murmur, but the words weren't clear. I tried to convince myself it was just the old pipes, or maybe the house settling, but the longer I stood there, the more I could swear it was someone talking. I decided to go check it out, even though every instinct in my body was telling me to leave. I walked across the basement toward the sound, and as I got closer to the corner, I noticed something strange. There was a small, rusted door hidden behind some old boxes. It was tucked away in a way that I hadn't noticed it before. I don't know what possessed me to open it, but I did. The door creaked as I pulled it open, revealing a small, cramped space that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. There was an old wooden chair sitting in the center of the room, and on the floor there was a pile of what looked like old clothes, or maybe rags. That's when the whispering stopped. Instead, I heard a voice, a clear, distinct voice, almost like it was right behind me. It said, "Get out! Don't come back!" I spun around, my heart racing, but there was nothing there. No one in the room, no one around. I quickly shut the door and ran back up the stairs, feeling like something or someone was right behind me, watching me. My hands were shaking as I locked the basement door, and I didn't go back down for days. The weirdest part? When I finally worked up the courage to go back down and check, the door was wide open. The pile of clothes was gone, and the chair was turned around, facing the wall. I moved out of that house a month later, and to this day, I have